Are you tired of chasing temporary highs and constantly feeling unfulfilled? In today's video, we will explore 10 common misconceptions about happiness that Buddhism warns against. Lesson 1. Wanting to be someone else. Trying to be someone else is the first thing that will not make you happy. This need stems from a profound sense of discontentment with our identity. It comes from looking outside of oneself and thinking that someone else holds the secret to a perfect life. Comparison. The Buddhist path pushes us to develop self-compassion and acceptance by turning inward. We become blind to our own intrinsic value and distinctiveness when we are always trying to be someone else. According to what the Buddha taught, everyone has the capacity to awaken and experience a condition of freedom and tranquility. Attempting to embody someone else amounts to a rejection of that capacity and will only cause additional distress. Adopting our genuine selves instead of trying to change who we are is the way to happiness. We can start to let go of this need to be someone else and instead develop loving kindness toward ourselves through mindfulness and meditation. We are more able to embrace the richness of our own life and the current moment when we accept who we are. Lesson 2. Desiring to turn back time. Wishing you could go back in time to alter the past is the second thing that will not make you happy. Many of us harbor regrets or experience ghosts of past choices or incidents. We keep playing them back to ourselves, wishing we could have handled things differently. However, we are powerless to alter the past, no matter how much we try. Buddhism teaches us that everything is ever-changing through the concept of impermanence. The future is unclear and the past is gone. Holding on to the past is akin to clinging to a river that has already run its course. We simply cause greater sorrow when we reject life's natural flow and wish we could go back in time. The Buddha urged all who followed him to fully embrace the present moment. We can start to release the weight of the past when we concentrate on the present. This does not imply that we downplay or reject the significance of the past. Rather, we accept them, draw lessons from them, and let them go. Another critical component of this process is forgiveness. We have to be able to forgive ourselves and others for our previous transgressions. Resentment or self-blame that we hold on to keeps us stuck in a painful cycle. By engaging in mindfulness practices, we can develop the ability to let go of the past and concentrate on our current actions, which will lead to a more loving and serene existence. Lesson 3. Venting your fury on the inappropriate people. Taking out your anger on the wrong people is the third item that will not make you happy. Anger is a strong emotion that might feel overpowering when it manifests. Even if they are not the cause of our annoyance, we could snap at those nearby when we are very furious. This may result in strained relationships, wounded sentiments, and increased suffering for both ourselves and other people. Buddhism believes that greed, ignorance, and anger are the three poisons that cause suffering. We are not acting with wisdom or compassion when we take actions based on anger. Rather, we are overcome with a negative emotion that impairs our judgment. Mindfulness of emotions is one of the major tenets of Buddhism. Rather than reacting out of the blue when anger flares, we can step back and watch the feeling with mindfulness. By doing this, we give ourselves room to react to the stimuli in a way that is more skillful than our initial reaction. It's also critical to comprehend the underlying causes of our rage. Oftentimes, when we lash out at someone, we are not truly angry with them. Our rage may actually stem from something deeper, like unfulfilled desires, inferiority complexes, or unresolved emotional trauma from the past. We may directly address the root reasons of our rage and prevent venting our displeasure on the wrong people by investigating them. The way to peace ultimately lies in handling anger with compassion for both ourselves and other people. Grasping loving kindness allows us to change our wrath into comprehension and empathy. This enhances our happiness and fosters harmony in our lives, while also fortifying our connections. Lesson 4. Self-harming to escape pain. Injuring oneself in order to escape pain is the fourth item that will not make you happy. Self-destructive actions are a coping mechanism for some persons who are experiencing physical or emotional discomfort. This can manifest in a variety of ways, including unhealthy behaviors, self-criticism, and even physical violence. The concept is that we may either take control of our suffering or divert our attention from the more intense agony we are experiencing by causing pain on ourselves. In Buddhism, the path to enlightenment is centered on the practice of ahimsa, or non-harming. According to this idea, we ought to refrain from hurting any living thing, including ourselves. Whether it be emotional or physical, self-harm just makes us more miserable and keeps us from ever truly at peace. According to what the Buddha taught, everyone wants to be happy and free from pain. We are rejecting our innate need for well-being when we injure ourselves. Furthermore, we are misinterpreting the essence of suffering. We cannot prevent suffering by depriving ourselves of our feelings or punishing ourselves. Rather, we have to approach it with empathy and comprehension. By practicing self-compassion and mindfulness, we can learn to accept our suffering without responding negatively. We can cultivate the inner fortitude to witness our pain without becoming overwhelmed by it with the use of meditation. We eventually come to understand that while suffering is a normal part of life, it does not define us. Through embracing our suffering with empathy, we can change it and achieve a more profound level of calm. Lesson 5. The inability to pardon oneself. Not being able to forgive oneself is the fifth factor that will prevent you from being happy. Many of us harbor shame and remorse about past transgressions. We punish ourselves for not being flawless by mentally reliving our mistakes. However, clinging to this guilt about ourselves simply serves to keep us mired in a painful cycle. Forgiveness is a crucial step on the Buddhist path to enlightenment. The Buddha advocated for us to develop self-forgiveness in addition to forgiveness for others. One of the main causes of suffering is clinging, which is what happens when someone holds on to guilt and shame. Refusing to forgive ourselves means that we are clinging to a fabricated identity shaped by our transgressions. Self-compassion is the foundation of the practice of self-forgiveness. We have to learn to be as gentle and understanding toward ourselves as we would be toward a good friend. This does not imply that we neglect to acknowledge our errors or accept accountability for our deeds. Rather, we accept our flaws and the fact that we are fallible humans. Cultivating self-compassion can be facilitated by practicing mindfulness and meditation. We can start to release the critical inner voice that traps us in feelings of guilt and shame by just noticing our thoughts and feelings without passing judgment on them. We can come to terms with our mistakes over time and proceed with more clarity and serenity. Lesson 6. Holding out for permission from others. The sixth thing that will not make you happy is waiting for other people to understand you. Many of us look to others around us for approval and understanding because we think that if they really understood us, it would make us feel more at ease. But putting our happiness in the hands of other people is a surefire way to end up disappointed. Buddhism holds that happiness cannot be sought outside of oneself, nor in the acceptance or understanding of others. All beings are in charge of their own happiness and suffering, according to the Buddha's teachings. We give up control and put ourselves in a position of pain when we depend on other people to make us feel good about ourselves or happy. Developing a sense of inner security and acceptance of oneself is crucial. We stop needing continual approval from other people when we are at peace with who we are. This does not imply that we should give up on our connections or sequester ourselves. Rather of relying on other people to provide our emotional needs, we might approach our interactions with them with empathy and understanding. We can have a better grasp of who we are and how we feel by practicing mindfulness and meditation. We can manage our relationships with more compassion and clarity when we have this inner wisdom. We may concentrate on comprehending ourselves and sharing that understanding with others rather than waiting for others to understand us. Lesson 7. Believing that everything must be done before you can be happy. The seventh thing that will not make you happy is believing that you would be content only after completing all tasks. Many of us live in a state of perpetual striving, thinking that we will eventually find happiness after we accomplish a task or reach a goal. However, this way of thinking keeps us caught in a never-ending cycle of discontent. Buddhism teaches us that everything is ever-changing through the concept of impermanence. There will always be more things to get done, more objectives to meet, and more difficulties to overcome. We will never be at ease in the present if we look to the future for our happiness. The significance of living in the now was imparted by the Buddha. Contentment cannot be attained by checking off items on a list or accomplishing a specific goal. Rather, it can be discovered in the straightforward practice of being totally present in the moment. The secret to developing this experience of presence is mindfulness. We can learn to appreciate the richness and beauty of each moment without being driven by the urge to accomplish or finish everything by engaging in mindfulness practices. We make room for the potential of experiencing happiness in the here and now, and we let go of the notion that it is something to be achieved in the future. Lesson 8. Attempting to regulate in an uncertain world. The 8th thing that will not make you happy is attempting to manage an uncontrollable reality. A deep-seated craving for control is present in many of us. We think that we will feel safe and comfortable if we can merely control everything around us, including our relationships, our jobs, and our surroundings. However, life is fundamentally unpredictable, and our attempts to control it only serve to increase our feelings of frustration and anxiety. The idea of impermanence in Buddhism serves as a reminder that everything is subject to change. Nothing lasts forever, and clinging to things or trying to control events is a sort of clinging that brings pain. We struggle more the more we try to stop life's natural flow. The Buddha stressed the value of letting go, of submitting to life's transient character, and realizing that we are powerless over anything. This does not imply that we stop caring about the world around us or become apathetic. Instead of attempting to make things happen a specific way, it means that we approach life with an attitude of acceptance and openness. Meditation and mindfulness practices can support us in developing this acceptance. We start to realize that control is a myth when we examine our ideas and feelings objectively. In the midst of life's uncertainties, we can find more contentment and serenity by letting go of the urge for control. Lesson 9. Steer clear of happy times to avoid happy memories. Avoiding happy occasions in order to get away from unpleasant memories is the 9th item that won't make you happy. When we've gone through trauma or suffering in the past, we occasionally steer clear of fresh experiences or happy moments for fear that they'll reopen old wounds. We can think that we can shield ourselves against more suffering if we don't experience happiness. However, Buddhism teaches us to accept the whole gamut of human experience, including happiness and sorrow. One of the main causes of pain is aversion, which is the avoidance of happy moments out of a dread of unpleasant recollections. We cut ourselves off from the richness and beauty of life when we reject its good experiences. Equanimity is the capacity to maintain equilibrium and serenity in the face of both pleasure and suffering, and the Buddha urged his disciples to cultivate it. This does not imply that we ignore or repress our challenging feelings. Rather, we learn to accept them with empathy and comprehension, refusing to let them define who we are. We can learn to completely perceive the present moment without being constrained by previous suffering by engaging in mindfulness practices. We give ourselves permission to develop and heal when we let joy into our lives. We can achieve a greater sense of contentment and serenity by accepting both the good and the terrible in life, which is an ever-flowing stream of experiences. Lesson 10. Thinking happiness is always necessary. Believing that you must always be happy is the 11th and last item that won't make you happy. The idea that happiness is the ultimate goal and that we should constantly want to be in a happy, positive mood is widely held in our culture. But since life is full of ups and downs, and it's impossible to be happy all the time, this mindset sets us up for disappointment and unhappiness. In Buddhism, developing inner serenity and insight is more important than chasing after perpetual happiness. According to the Buddha's teachings, suffering is a necessary component of existence, and that real freedom is obtained by comprehending it and developing effective coping mechanisms rather than by trying to escape it. Like other emotions, happiness is a fleeting sensation that comes and goes. We invite sorrow into our lives when we hold on to the notion that we should always be content. Instead, we should concentrate on developing equanimity, which is an inner serenity and balance that enables us to handle life's joys and misfortunes with grace. We may cultivate this feeling of calmness with the use of mindfulness and meditation. We can learn to tolerate the whole gamut of human experience without becoming overwhelmed by it, by examining our emotions with non-attachment. From a Buddhist perspective, true happiness is about finding peace and contentment in the face of life's unavoidable changes, not about experiencing constant delight. Buddhism's teachings provide us with a deep and enduring wisdom that helps us comprehend the essence of happiness. We can start to nurture a deeper sense of calm and satisfaction by letting go of the things that won't bring us permanent happiness, including the urge to dominate the world around us, the desire to be someone else, or the conviction that we must always be happy. By cultivating mindfulness, self-compassion, and a profound comprehension of life's transience, we might discover genuine happiness not from outside events, but from within ourselves. It is not the route to happiness to run from pain or pursue transient pleasures. Rather, it's about learning to live with discernment, compassion, and composure by accepting life as it is, ups and downs included. Right now, each of us has access to this route, which leads to ultimate happiness.